folks. Welcome to another daily edition of the Phillies Talk Podcast presented by Team Toyota. I'm Corey Seidman, joined as always by Jim Salisbury, who's down at the press box in Clearwater, Florida. And Jim, do you think the Phillies are kind of just playing along with our schedule here with the daily podcasts, making one transaction a day? Yesterday we had the official news of Brad Hand and Jeurys Familia. Today we have Kyle Schwarber, big deal that a lot of people were waiting for, a 4-year contract. What's the vibe down there? I got to imagine guys are pretty excited, huh?
Oh, yeah, they're excited. I talked to Bryce Harper, and we'll have some, footage of that. John Clark and Brian Spielman are here, so there'll be footage of that. But, yeah, he was elated. Big bat, winning pedigree, and some competitiveness. I think those are the three factors or three reasons why the Phillies really targeted Schwarber in the entire offseason. If you remember back in October, Dave Dombrowski said that, they wanted a big bat, preferably left-handed bat. And so they got one in Kyle Schwarber. And I do think they in addition to the 30 home run potential, he's reached 30 home runs plus in 3 seasons. And he's got high on-base percentage. So he's a guy who can get on. And, there's even a chance they could bat him leadoff. He's done it before, and he's done it pretty well because of his selectivity, because of his on-base percentage. So if you can bat him leadoff, even part-time, that's going to enhance Bryce Harper's RBI opportunities. I mean, they were very low last year just because the Phillies were so poor in on-base percentage in the leadoff spot and the number 2 spot. Combined, I think they were worse than the majors. I think they were worst in leadoff on-base percentage, maybe second worst in number 2 hole on-base percentage. I'd have to look at those numbers, but pretty close to that. They were woeful in those 2 spots. So, but wherever you put Kyle Schwarber, he's going to lengthen the lineup. He's going to help the lineup. Left-handed slug, on-base skills, a really good pickup. In addition to winning pedigree, he's been to the postseason 5 times. Knows how to get there. Knows how to get somewhere the Phillies haven't been since 2011. So yes, there's a very positive vibe about this pickup, and they're eager to see him in the clubhouse the next day or two once all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed on what's going to end up as a 4-year, $79 million deal.
So, Jim, before we move on to other aspects of the Schwarber deal, let's just talk money, because that's what a lot of people are asking about. The luxury tax threshold, $230 million, up $20 million from a year ago. This Kyle Schwarber deal has an AAV of just under $20 million. So that kind of puts the Phillies pretty close to the CBT threshold. Do you think that they're finished at this point this offseason? Do you think there will just be little minor moves, or could they still have something medium to big left in the tank here?
I don't think they're ever finished talking with other clubs, strategizing among themselves. And I think their ears are open on anything. Harper said he hopes they're not done. He hopes they continue to add. I mean, they could add, another bench bat, depending on what's out there. And as the month ticks on and guys remain out there, they could add more starting pitching depth, which might be a need given the way some of the things are unfolding here in camp, which we'll get into later. It could be bullpen, could be defensive help. I mean, left side of the infield, I think, they have a blueprint, but I think it's in flux a little bit as well. So I don't know that they're done. In this here month of March, I would say their heavy lifting is done, but you're always looking to tweak, always looking to get a little bit better. Dave Dombrowski, very aggressive guy. I mean, he could still have a trade up his sleeve. Who knows? You never know. So it would be crazy to rule anything out. They do have some padding under the threshold that I think will come in handy as the next few months evolve, and could come in handy around the trade deadline. I see them as about 10 million under right now, but there's a lot of different ways to figure the CBT number. There's a lot of costs that go into it that we don't even realize. A lot of complicated formulas that go into it. So I think they're about 10 million under it. Whether or not they get closer to it here before spring training ends, I don't know. I do think there's a chance they'll keep tweaking. But I also am a believer that they will go over the tax. Maybe I'm in the minority, but they will go over the tax. Maybe not in March, But if the right opportunity presents itself, maybe I should say they're willing to go over the tax. If the right opportunity presents itself, I think they're willing to go over the tax. To get to the postseason, a place where they haven't been since 2011. If they feel like some type of championship is within striking distance, and a move can be made that would require them going over the tax, I think they would do it. But I think that opportunity is going to have to help them deliver a championship. So, we'll see.
So, Jim, you talked a little bit about the flexibility Kyle Schwarber offers the Phillies as a middle-of-the-order bat who could also potentially lead off. Both skill sets are much needed with this team. I was kind of going through different lineup variations in my head, and I personally think Schwarber would best fit batting second because there would be some additional RBI opportunities if Gene Segura were to hit between 290 and 310 the way he typically does. The only issue there is that you potentially have Schwarber and Harper hitting back-to-back as lefties. Harper has batted third for most of his time as a Philly. And when you look at Harper's career splits, I don't know if this means anything or not, but in like 900 plate appearances, he's been by far worse out of the two-hole than he's been batting first, third, or fourth. First off, how important do you think splitting those lefties is to Joe Girardi? He's tended to do so in the past when he's had the chance to.
Yeah, I think it's important because just to prevent a lefty coming in and neutralizing those guys, and you can really focus on those two guys with the 3-batter rule. So I don't know where he's going to hit. I just know wherever he's going to hit, he's going to be a real dangerous presence. I'm actually intrigued by him in the leadoff hole. And with Segura maybe 2, Harper 3, Hoskins 4, Realmuto 5, Didi 6. You got a lot of left-right balance there. If they're clicking, you got some potential thunder in the middle. But that's something we'll look at. I think they'll experiment with it through the month of March. But I also think Schwarber can hit anywhere from like 1 to 6. So a lot of flexibility for Joe. I don't know what the best lineup is. I think they'll obviously going to bring matchups into it, and they're going to bring hot hand into it. Who's swinging it well? But I think you're going to see Harper 3 most of the time, and as he's been in the past, they like getting him up in the first inning. Hoskins 4th. And if that's all clicking, it's a pretty nice lineup. They've done a good job with the lineup here. Odubel Herrera has been re-signed. He showed up in camp today. I think if he could hit at the bottom and toward the bottom and swing it pretty good, or if he gets hot, you can kind of move him up. We know how streaky he is. He'd be another guy that could factor in there. But the bottom line is they got some decent ingredients to work with in that lineup.
The Phillies spring training schedule begins very soon here, a couple days, and NBC Sports Philadelphia and NBC Sports Philadelphia Plus are televising all 9 Phillies home spring training games, the first of which is this Saturday. Phillies, Blue Jays, the Blue Jays. Jim, you made a comment the other day. You think they're connected to like every player on the market. They can to make noise. They made a trade for Gold Glove third baseman Matt Chapman today. So that first, sorry,
you're right. I can't wait to see him play third base because I've only seen him play, in the West Coast games late at night. And God, I love a good defensive third baseman. Scott Rowland, Brooks Robinson, Arenado. I mean, the reactions those guys have and the way the ball comes at them off the bat, plus 100 miles an hour. It's fun to watch a great defensive third baseman, Mike Schmidt. I mean, you can go on and on forever. Who was a great defensive third baseman I thought was fun to watch was Charlie Hayes. I'm bringing up a lot of names here. But they play the Blue Jays a lot. I'm looking forward to seeing Matt Chapman in person play third base. So Saturday would be the Blue Jays, right?
That's right. Saturday, 1 p.m. on NBC Sports Philadelphia. That's the Phillies' first televised spring training game.
And Aaron Nola will start that game here at the ballpark. And he's shaping up to probably be their opening day starter. Ordinarily, that honor would go to a guy like Zach Wheeler, who had a great year last year, led the majors in innings, second in the National League in strikeouts, second in Cy Young. But he's behind schedule now. He was a little bit behind schedule, and I think now you'd have to say that he's approaching significantly behind schedule. He had shoulder soreness in December, which he admitted to, said it dissipated quickly, but it put him off his schedule. He just got on a bullpen mound, Monday. but on Tuesday did not report because they told him to stay away because he's got the flu. And he's still got the flu. Joe Girardi today, Wednesday, said that, Wheeler would not throw as they had hoped on Thursday, and it's probably going to be away a couple more days. They're trying to keep him out of the clubhouse so he doesn't infect anybody. Those are Girardi's words. But, missing a half week of not being able to report, really throws a pitcher off his schedule. So, I think it's safe to assume that him being ready for the first week of the season now is in doubt. Ranger Suarez also a little bit behind schedule. So that really, makes Nola, Eflin, Kyle Gibson super important. And a guy like, maybe a guy like Bailey Falter now could make a start early in the season. We'll see. There's a lot of fingers being crossed that, Wheeler gets up and going quickly for the simple reason he's an indispensable guy on this team. They just signed Kyle Schwarber today, and they're everybody's, postseason hopes in that clubhouse, inched up a little bit. But, boy, if they don't have a healthy Wheeler doing what he does, that's going to be a real tough hurdle to overcome. So we're just keeping our eye on it down here.
Yeah, especially considering that this is not a normal regular season schedule where you have a bunch of off days early in the season that test your rotation depth a little bit less. You look at the Phillies schedule, they have 3 off days in the span of 36 games to start the season, 36 games with just 3 off days in between there. So, if Zach Wheeler can't go early, we're talking about potentially missing 2-3 starts. That's a big deal. What's the level of concern overall about Wheeler? Because, not necessarily the illness, but when a guy who, as we talked about the other day, when a guy who has that kind of workload faces more batters than anybody in all of baseball, when shoulder soreness pops up, a lot of times that's a harbinger of bad things to come.
Right. I agree. And like I said, the shoulder soreness was in December, and he said it went away. But, you hear that word, and you hear almost in any time frame, and you get concerned, especially after that workload. I'll tell you what, I have concern. But I don't think you're going to get anybody in an official capacity with the ball club to come out and say they're concerned. But I think deep down inside, you have to be a little bit until you see him out on the mound facing, competitive hitters in a competitive game situation, looking like himself. There's going to be concern there.
All right. Well, we're shooting for about 15 minutes every day. The Phillies have made a lot of noise this week, a lot of news with the reliever signings, and now Kyle Schwarber in the fold. Jim, any parting thoughts about Wednesday or what to expect Thursday?
They'll continue to work out, and then they'll start games on Friday over in Lakeland against the Tigers. And I don't expect any veterans to make that trip for the simple reason, everything has come together really quickly here. A lot of guys are still breaking in their spikes. And you have a number of guys who were at the minor league mini camp who are ahead of them, more ready to play. Just it's going to be fun to watch some games. And, there's a camp battle at shortstop. There are there's a lot of interest in how Alec Boehm's going to look at third base. And we'll look forward to those guys kind of getting on the field here in game situations over the next few days, and then kind of evaluate how those storylines look. But they got a left fielder, and looks like they have a center field plan with Odubel Herrera and Matt Verling. We'll see how it works. I think it can be adjusted down the road if it's not working. And that's about that from here in Clearwater, Corey.
All right, well, that wraps up this edition of the Daily Phillies Talk Podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.